Hello everyone and welcome to episode 2 of the official New Japan Pro Wrestling English podcast. Thank you so much for all the feedback from episode 1 of this podcast that I, Chris Charlton, did alongside with our general manager, Michael Craven. The response was really phenomenal from everyone, and it's allowed this second episode to take place. Now, this episode's a little bit different because while I am here, Michael Craven is not here. Michael's away in Australia doing lots of exciting things and PR for the Southern Showdown tour that's coming up at the end of June. So he arranged a special guest for me, kept it a bit of a secret, and I conducted a little interview backstage in Fukuoka just before night 2 of Dontaku over there. So it was a little bit intimidating to find out my guest was the Bullet Club's own Gino Gambino, given my own history with the Bullet Club. But I got along a little bit better with Gino than Bad Luck Fale, at least. So you can enjoy a nice little 20-minute chat coming up here as we talk about everything Gino's transition from being a wrestler when he first debuted with New Japan to now still being a wrestler over in his native Australia, but commentating for us for New Japan over the last week of the Dontaku tour. He also talks about the scene in Australia. I think it's something that a lot of fans of New Japan and lots of fans all the way around the world don't know so much about the Australian scene, but it's a really burgeoning area when it comes to pro wrestling. So lots of really interesting insight from Mr. Juicy Gino Gambino coming up. Thank you so much to Petroform as well before we get going for the 10-second jingle that played in the opening to this show here. We're so grateful to Petroform, and we'll be reaching out to him, and we'll certainly make it worth his while for the work that he put in for that great jingle. So we're going to take you now to Dontaku and to my chat with Gino Gambino. Please forgive a little bit of echo in the audio there. It's a distinct challenge to find a quiet enough place and an appropriate enough place to do a podcast recording right before a big New Japan show, as you can imagine. And I really think that this chat's worth your while. There'll also be a special little message from Michael himself at the end of this podcast, just to give you a little update on what's happening as we head into Southern Showdown. So check it all out. Thanks for listening. Gino Gambino.
Thank you very much for having me.
Ryan, who I'm trying to make good with.
Look, we'll be friends eventually, I'm sure. Just not yet. I got to tag you along a little bit. I can't give you all of it at once.
Right. Okay. Well, we're working together, and I'm hoping you can be a bridge to Mr. Fale.
Oh, no chance. No, you're in trouble there, mate. Sorry. I can't help you.
What? Why? Does he speak of me?
You're just annoying, let's be honest.
Okay. Is it a hydration thing?
It's just your face, I think.
Right.
It upsets everyone. That's good.
Everyone?
Everyone.
Billy Club, everyone, or everyone?
Everyone.
This is going to be a long ordeal. This company, right? Wow. So, Gino, this is your second time with New Japan.
Yeah, absolutely. I originally debuted at Wrestle Kingdom 12, I want to say. I hope that's right. You think I would know? I think it was 12. I appeared in the Rumble for Wrestle Kingdom 12, and I've also wrestled for New Japan in Australia as well.
Yes, the old the Fallout
tour. Yeah, which was a great tour, highly enjoyable, and I was really lucky to be part of that as well.
But this time you're in a different capacity, going from a wrestler to an announcer.
Yeah.
Had you done announcing before?
Yeah, absolutely. I've spent my time every now and then announcing in Australia. I've been wrestling now for 14 years, so I've actually just dabbled, I think, in about everything besides being a referee. So I've done a bit of announcing. I've helped out in that aspect, but most of my time has been spent as a wrestler.
Right. So how's the experience been? How's it been different from being in the ring in New Japan to announcing in New Japan?
Well, first, I'm not getting my head kicked in, which is always a pleasure. And it's good. I get to come here and talk about the best faction in the world in Bullet Club.
Right. But a little bit of mixed results this tour. We're going as a full disclosure. This will be up later, but we're recording this before night 2 of Dontaku.
Yeah, night 1 wasn't great, even though it was our birthday, our 6th-year anniversary. So it was a bit of a somber celebration afterwards. But look, at the end of the day, Bullet Club has been strong for 6 years, no matter what the result. We've always had ups and downs. And Jay White, at the moment, the best wrestler in the world, hands down. Then we have GOD, the best tag team in the world. They've offered anyone to come and challenge them, and no one stepped up to the plate. And then you got guys like Chase Owens, Robbie Eagles, Ishimori, amazing talents, young guys like Hikuleo, who's going to be the future of this company. And then Bad Luck Fale to anchor it all. The big man himself. So we've got a lot of members and a lot of strong members, and that's what's important about Bullet Club, always strong.
And a lot of that recruitment has come through Australia.
Yeah, absolutely.
Through New Zealand.
Yeah.
It's come through that scene, and I would guess that Fale is a big...
Yeah, definitely. The Fale Dojo, which is, it's part of the New Japan system of getting here for Australian and New Zealanders, and it's a really important step along the way. I was lucky enough to be one of the first graduates of the Fale Dojo. I spent a lot of time there, and that's how I ended up at New Japan and part of Bullet Club. Fale is a great coach. He's got a great team down there, and that dojo is an awesome step for guys like myself, Robbie Eagles, Jay White, and others who are at this company who have gone through that dojo. So a really important step to get here.
Australia's been looming bigger on the map.
Yeah.
In recent months, in the last couple of years, it's become an exploding scene. But perhaps to people in the Western Hemisphere that aren't so familiar with the Australian scene, how has it progressed over the last couple of years since you were involved in the business?
It's progressed massively, and a lot of that's got to do with the influence of Fale. As well, recently we had Michael Craven, the general manager, visit, and that's a huge moment for us to have someone of his ability and capacity within the company to be in Australia and New Zealand to visit the Fale Dojo. Really gives us that tick of approval. It's like we finally got our blue tick on Twitter. We're being recognised. There has been talent in Australia for many, many years, maybe 20 years of unnoticed talent. And unfortunately, a lot of that talent's left because there just wasn't anything there for them. And now with New Japan being involved in Australia and New Zealand, we are getting noticed. And you're seeing that. Like, look at Robbie Eagles, like one of the best juniors in the world, and only just being noticed by a lot of people since he did the tag with Ishimori, the junior tag. So, things are coming, big things are happening. And having the ability to have people like Michael Craven, like Fale, visit Australia and be an integral part is very helpful to us.
Is there a little bit of competition with Australia and New Zealand? It's like Fale said, the other day, it's like, Kiwis 1 and Kangaroo 0 when he did.
Look, he's probably not wrong. In the background, I'm sure there is. There was one famous sports incident in a cricket match where we bowled an underarm ball, and that's never been forgotten. That was in 84. So there's always some strong rivalries there, especially when it comes to rugby. But I think when it comes to professional wrestling, we all want the same goal. We want New Zealand and Australia on the map of the professional wrestling world. So we're working together to achieve that.
And when it comes to Southern Showdown at the end of June, how important are those two events?
It's massive. It's a big thing. And I hope that the fans in Australia realise too that if they want their independent scene to grow, if they want the guys that they love, like myself, Robbie Eagles, Mikey Nichols, Henada, if they want those guys to be on the main stage, they need to prove that Australia wants it. And buying a ticket and coming to this show, the 29th in Melbourne, the 30th in Sydney, is really important. And I really hope they come out to show their support.
Yeah, it's one of those things where knowing my history coming from the English scene or coming from through knowing Japan, there is a world of history in Australia that
huge.
I'm not as familiar with,
It was one of the hottest territories back in the day. I'm probably going to get this name wrong, but Jim Crockett, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. He ran the territory, and Australia was part of the scene. If you look at some of the most famous names in wrestling history, if you look at their old schedules, New Zealand and Australia were big stops for them. We had a thriving scene, and that's why being back at Festival Hall for Melbourne, that's our Corrigan Hall, that's our York Hall, that's our Madison Square Garden. It's where wrestling was born for us. It's where the big shows happened. We had Andre the Giant, we had Ric Flair, we had all these guys wrestle at Festival Hall. And for us to be back there, that's a big stamp of approval for us. And it's people like Farley, it's people like Michael Craven who have made that happen.
Right. It was when Robbie Eagles, was it the Ron Miller special? That inverse Big Four. It was something that it was, you first hear that kind of name just from announcers. It's like, but it ran through the talent from Australia are very aware of their own history.
We understand our history, and I think more importantly, there was a big lull in the 90s where we missed out on probably where a lot of other countries picked up. We always talk about the scene in the UK being quite rough during the 90s and early 2000s. Then we had a bit of a spike early 2000s, and then it kind of slowed down again. But now we've got these big companies like MCW, PWA, EPW, Wrestle Rampage, that all got talent that are now here at other big companies across the world, in the UK, the US, South America. So Australians are making a name for themselves, and I think it's really important now that our fans get behind us.
Is there anything that separates Australian wrestling to other wrestling? We always hear, it's almost a little bit limiting to say professional wrestling is this in this country. Yeah. But, we talk about lucha style a lot. We talk about American style a lot. European catch style a lot. Strong style a lot. Is there something that sets Australia apart stylistically as opposed to...
I think the best thing about Australia is we are all those styles. We have guys like myself who are probably closer to the Japanese strong style and the big man stuff. Then you got guys like Robbie Eagles who are closer to lucha style, flying around. So we are a mix. You're going to get the best of all those styles. We don't stick to one thing. A lot of countries, I think, corner themselves a little bit by having a one coach. We had multiple coaches and visitors and seminars from people from New Japan, from all across the world, and we've learned a lot of different styles. So it's important that people understand we're here for them. We're just putting on a good show in general.
Yeah. Going back to your experience over this last month.
Oh boy.
You came in at the end of the tour.
I did, yeah.
So the big name.
I did have an important show. A couple of important shows in Australia. I would have liked to come earlier. But yeah, it's been crazy, to be honest. It's been a really great experience. Spending time with the Bullet Club again. The last time I saw them was in Australia last year. So being able to do that was great, catch up with some old friends. But it's just, it's amazing watching New Japan from ringside and realizing the level that New Japan is at is beyond anything in this world. I've never sat at ringside and almost been mesmerized by the wrestling. Sometimes I forget to speak because I'm watching the matches. I'm so involved. At the moment, we've got Evil and Ishii. What a story that is. It's a huge moment in New Japan to see those two guys want to kill each other, and I'm so invested. I have to remind myself that it's my job to talk as well. So it's been a great experience for me, all up.
Yeah, it's one thing that I think we can relate on is that you're being a fan of something. Yeah. And it feels so surreal to be sat there.
Absolutely.
In another way you're going to work, but it's
the greatest job in the world. Let's be honest.
You're sitting next to, it's like chatting wrestling with some friends.
Absolutely. We're not friends, but it is.
Maybe one day.
One day, you never know. I doubt it, but okay. But it's been a great experience and something I've really, really enjoyed as well.
Yeah. How was the process of you being not just coming into New Japan and of course, so you had the Fale Dojo link. But, there are other people with Fale Dojo link, like Hinare, who came over, went to the New Japan Dojo,
right?
Is his own man.
Yes.
What was the conversation where, Gino, we want you in Bullet Club?
That's a good question. I think Fale saw something very different in me Henare's a lone wolf. He's out there working hard. He's always had to earn every single dollar, and every single inch of his life he's earned it himself. Where me, maybe I'm a little bit different. Maybe I like to shake the right hands and kiss the right babies and find my way. And I'm very loyal to Farley as well. And I think he saw that. So he knew that I had something in me that was very Bullet Club. And I've been lucky enough to be part of that faction now for a long time, even though some people seem to think I'm not, because Wikipedia doesn't say so. But my point is, can you change Wikipedia? Because I don't know how.
I don't know.
Yeah. But my point is, it's been a really great experience, and Farley has led me in the right direction, and now I'm here.
So having that call of, okay, we want you in Bullet Club.
Yeah.
And then a few years ago, okay, we want you to be part of the New Japan Rumble.
Yeah, that was a big moment. It was. I remember getting that email, and it was almost like a tick of approval for me. And it showed that I had worked hard enough to earn it, but there was also a lot more hard work to come. So hopefully I've achieved all that, and now we're heading to the Australian tour where, hopefully I get that tick of approval again.
So you'll be sort of on home ground.
I will be. I haven't been asked to announce, so that might mean...
Well, one or the other.
One or the other, and they've definitely said they don't need announcers. So let's hope that I get the tick for the other side, which would be great, because it'd be awesome to join Bullet Club in my hometown of Melbourne. And I think it's really important for me to do that. So fingers crossed, we've got some good news coming up.
I think one thing that Kevin and I were talking about that, usually when we have different announcers, we've had a sort of rotating chair, and very often it's like the Korakuen Hall shows, or the Korakuen Hall events, they're like the nice home field advantage. It
makes a big difference.
It really makes a big difference. But you were here, you've gone from the biggest of the Tokyo Dome and straight on the road. So what was it like for you, who hasn't spent much time in Japan, being on the road, in a lot of the different cities? Because usually this Dontaku tour, we're down south.
Yeah, which was amazing.
It's a very different sort of taste.
Different feel. I've been lucky enough to visit Japan on holidays outside of New Japan, so I had quite a good feel of Japan in general, but being able to visit other towns, it's really an eye-opening into what the world is. Like, you see people, and I thought to myself on the bus the other day, that person walking outside on the footpath there has no idea who I am or what I'm doing, and I don't know them, and that's how big this world is. So it was a massive eye-opener for me, but everyone's been so lovely. Each town full of fans, shows are packed, and they're loving New Japan Pro Wrestling, and I think that beams through us as well, which is great.
Okay, so let's circle back to Southern Showdown, Melbourne, June 29th, Sydney, June 30th, and that list of names getting bigger and bigger at the moment.
Huge. So at the moment we've got Okada, we've got Jay White, we've got Will Ospreay and God, and Farley himself. So that's enough Bullet Club. I'm hoping there's me soon, but it's been an amazing lineup and more to come. I've been told there is a lot more on that list.
Is there somebody in particular, not Bullet Club, that you would like to say, we want, as a Bullet Club member, we want that guy on the tour to get that blue check of beating this guy on home turf in Australia?
I think the guys already announced are good enough that we could run a massive tour with just the people announced. So anyone from New Japan, I think, gives this tour the blue tick to say, hey, New Japan is here in Australia and we're taking over.
Right. So what's that when people go home after the event in Melbourne or after Sydney as well? What is the lasting impression that you want?
I want them to understand that New Japan is serious about wrestling, that New Japan is the most exciting sport that they'll see, and that they're a fixture in Melbourne, that they'll be back, and that this is something you're not going to want to miss, and you're going to want to return every time they're here.
All right. Well, this has been quite a nice, quiet surprise. No, I was a little bit nervous.
Nah, don't be.
Going in.
I'm a big teddy bear. It's fine.
You're about 3 times my size.
Probably 4, to be honest. Yeah. How much do you weigh?
About 50 kilos.
Okay, I'm 160, so I'm 110 kilos heavier than you.
Yeah, right.
So just keep that in mind.
I didn't bring any water with me into the...
I can't spill it on you. But thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Right. Are you going to have a word with the...
No, not a chance. No. He tells me what to do.
All right.
So thank you. Hopefully everyone enjoyed that too.
Yes, yeah. Well, I do have to say we've got one special message that Mr. Craven has recorded for us from our excellent location, so we'll put that at the end.
Hi, Chris. I hope you enjoyed meeting Gino. Unfortunately, I won't be able to join Chris this week. My focus is on New Japan Southern Showdown. I'm in Sydney and Melbourne to arrange a few things and do some media rounds. If any of our Australian fans have a chance to see me at any event, don't be shy, and I'd love to hear from you. Meet and greets will be announced at a later date for Melbourne, and more stars will be announced later this month. The marquee star will be announced after Dominion. I'm looking forward to joining Chris again next week. Before I sign off this week, I would like to leave you with the word of the week. In fact, I'll give you a choice, either shiai or waza. If you can explain this to our listeners, that would be much appreciated.
Shiai or waza? Well, let's go with waza for now, and we'll keep shiai in the back pocket, I think. Thanks for that suggestion, Michael. Waza is, the reason I chose it is because I think it's, more of a common word in Japanese than just shiai. Shiai we use in sporting context only, but waza can mean all kinds of, you can use it in all kinds of different contexts, because waza loosely applied means technique. But in a wrestling sense, we use it to talk about different moves that the wrestlers do. So every single different move is a different waza for that particular wrestler. And so there's different types of waza, and you might hear the word waza in different contexts, even in the context of a wrestling match. So for example, you might hear the word kansetsu waza, which is a submission hold. So if you hear Taka Michinoku, next time you hear Taka hype up Zack Sabre Jr., listen to him talk about Zack Sabre Jr.'s mastery of kansetsu waza. So that's something to listen out for. Also things like, what else? Tokui waza or hissatsu waza. Those are the other two things you might hear quite a lot, because tokui waza, to be tokui, that's something that you're good at. So tokui waza is a move that a wrestler is particularly well known for doing, a sort of signature perhaps, whereas hissatsu waza will be somebody's particular specific finisher or signature move in that regard. So say for example Kazuchika Okada, you might say his elbow drop, for instance, or his drop kick. Those might be tokui waza for Okada, but when it comes to hissatsu waza, that's the rainmaker. So hopefully that cleared some of that up. Anyway, thanks to Michael for the message there, and big thanks to Gino Gambino for our chat. We wound up working together immediately after recording that episode to witness a really phenomenal night 2 of Dontaku in Fukuoka. I like to think me and Gino had a nice little bit of banter there. Perhaps we need some work to be done on our friendship, but I'm going to hold the door open for that. And maybe one day Bad Luck Fale might knock over my water every single time he comes out here. Hope springs eternal, at least. Thank you once again for listening to this. Thank you for following on social media. If you haven't, following me on social media at ReasonJP. Following Gino on social media, which you can do at Mr. Gino Gambino. And thank you, of course, for always following on, reading all your news sources and keeping up with everything going on New Japan, and www.njpw1972.com. For subscribing, njpwworld.com. We have a ridiculously stacked lineup of events coming up in the month of May. Even though Dontaku is done, there's still 13 events coming up in May as we go through all of Best of the Super Juniors, all live, all with English commentary. Even I might be on a few of those events myself. And thank you for following our official Twitter at NJPW Global, which is, by the time you hear this right now, it's at something like 99,980 something. But I believe we'll be, that account will be well past the 100,000 mark by the time you have this in your ears. It really does matter, and it does matter not just in a sense for the company to expand their brand and be more visible, and all of that is tremendous, and everybody, all our great fans are fantastic ambassadors for the company at large, because you're out there spreading the word of how great these events are and how great New Japan is. But also it goes the other way. It might be hard to identify the fact that, when you're speaking or when there's a company that has a Twitter presence or a social media presence, sometimes that might feel somewhat impersonal. But I do know, as a matter of fact, that there are people reading the comments and that all your voices are heard, and that the more people that there are that are following New Japan, following me at large, or following Gino, or following any of the talent, or following the company in general, that allows the chance for you, the fans, to interact with us and with the people that make the big decisions. And it may be that you have ideas, that you have opinions, that you want things known, and believe me, there is someone reading that all the time. So it really does make a big difference for everybody at large, and it's very, very much appreciated. So until next time, thank you for listening, and thank you for the continued feedback. And we look forward to speaking to you again very, very soon. Until then, go kigen yo, sayonara.